Welcome back to Salam Media. The time is what, 9:42, and you're still tuned in to your Ramadan companion right here on Salam Media. We'll be with you from Ramadan onwards. And right now, we'll be shifting our focus to a local news story. All of us who are residing in Gauteng might have heard the recent crime statistics that the police commissioner released. I think it was on Tuesday, and I think what stood out for me was the fact that there were 1,787 people who were murdered in Gauteng alone from October to December 2023, an increase of 3.8% compared to the same period the year before. And joining us right now is Chad Thomas, who's an organized crime expert. Chad, thank you so much for joining us on Salam Media, and welcome.
Good morning to you, the viewers, the listeners, and I do apologize in between meetings, so I'm in my vehicle, but let's hope that this interview can proceed well.
No worries at all. Chad, looking at the crime stats, I'm sure you took a look at them. Gauteng, South Africa, or Africa's economic hub. Looking at those numbers, what can we make of it? Looking at law enforcement and the war that they are waging against crime in the province.
Well, look, in February, we saw the quarterly crime statistics released from a national perspective. And then recently we had Lieutenant General Tommy Mtumbeni, the recently appointed Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng, release the provincial stats. We're very concerned about the stats. We do believe there's underreporting in certain crimes. And of course, we are seeing an increase across the board in respect of contact crimes, specifically serious contact crimes such as murder. In Gauteng alone, it's just under 4% the increase in murders. And as we know, that is the most serious of contact crimes. In fact, when you measure crime statistics worldwide, you always look to murder as being an indicator of crime in a country, the seriousness of crime in a country, because murder is such a serious offense. Now, what is of more concern is we're hearing about the crime statistics in respect of murders that are reported. We also know about statistics that came out in respect of murders that are solved. Now, when we say solved, it's about murders where the murderers are identified and successfully prosecuted. And what we found in the last financial year, only 10% of murder cases were solved. That means that 9 out of every 10 murder cases go unsolved, and that those murderers are emboldened and they go out and they commit even more crimes. This is as a direct result of the fact that there is little to no consequence or accountability when it comes to the criminal justice system. Now, we talk about our police waging this war on crime, but they need the support functions. You put more boots on the ground, you arrest more individuals, but who investigates those dockets? We're 8,000 plus detectives short in the detective service within SAPS. We only have half of the Hawks capacitated. That means that the members are carrying 2 to 3 times the amount of dockets that they should be carrying. And the same applies within the prosecuting service. Our NPA is also woefully understaffed. We heard rumors last year that they had put a stop to their aspirant prosecutor program due to funding issues. And we know that certain specialized prosecutors within the specialized units of the National Prosecuting Authority did not have their contracts renewed. This means that the prosecutors themselves are also working with 2 to 3 times the amount of dockets that they should be working. This is now compounded by the fact that we don't have enough courtrooms, we don't have enough court days, and we don't have enough presiding officers. So the fact that we're getting these crime stats reported to us is very important. But what's not being communicated effectively to the public is the prosecution rate. And therein lies the massive problem. We are not having successful prosecutions in the numbers that would send a clear message to criminals that the state is serious about putting an end to this crime wave that we actually enduring at this point in time.
I know you touched a bit about the boots on the ground and just how effective or how ineffective they can be on their own. We saw I think it was 2 years ago or earlier last year when Premier Panyaza Lisufi introduced the so-called Amapanyaza, the crime prevention wardens. Have we seen their effect? Are they contributing in any way? I mean, these people, you look at the cars that they drive, the equipment they seemingly have, they they seem to have it all. But looking at the stats and when they were introduced, it doesn't look like they're having any kind of impact in solving the culture's crime. I mean, the province crime statistics. Chad, are you there? Okay, we seem to have lost chat there a bit, but I wanted to focus a bit on the crime prevention wardens. I'm sure you've seen them wherever you may be. You know, they drive these fancy big BMWs. You know, they are in motorcades all across in their brown uniforms. They are essentially, the crime prevention wardens that were supposed to be working hand in hand with the SAPS, and there were rumors that they were also being trained alongside the SANDF, and we were all excited when Panyaza Lisufi announced that they'll be having those crime prevention ones. We have Chad back on the line. Chad, we're chatting a bit about the crime prevention wardens that Gauteng has now. Are they making an impact? There's so much money being spent on them. Panyaza Lisufi parades them all across the province. But have they made any kind of impact on the ground and helped in trying to mitigate the effects of crime in Gauteng?
I apologize if we got disconnected. Let's talk about that project by the Premier. It's a strange project. We're now finding out that these crime wardens are being trained by the South African National Defence Force. We're not sure what type of training they're now receiving. We know that they received great infrastructure and resources in terms of vehicles, high performance vehicles, and we know that those vehicles were being crashed at a massive rate. But the point I'm trying to make is that they are not experienced police officers. In fact, they weren't peace officers at a stage, which means that they were glorified wardens that weren't armed correctly, that were put in harm's way, that were rushing to scenes of crimes, if they were in fact rushing to scenes of crimes, without the necessary training or equipment in the form of firearms to actually take on the criminals. So they were regarded more as a force multiplier. So if the police went into a specific area, they needed to do search and seizures, these guys could put up the perimeter security or assist the police in the searching. But as police officers, they are not police officers. More boots on the ground. We hear 10,000 more cops a year, but we don't talk about the natural attrition. So these guys come out of college, they get put on the ground. They're there from a proactive policing perspective, for crowd control. They're there to react to crimes. But my greatest concern is who's going to investigate the crime. Because although you're putting 10,000 new boots on the ground, these are uniformed members that are reacting to crimes that are taking place. Who's going to investigate the crime? Because there's natural attrition. We're losing almost the same amount of members that are leaving the force due to early retirement, normal retirement, being medically boarded, or going to the private sector where their skills are in demand. So we're not replacing those members. We're putting more guys on the ground from a reactive perspective, but there's no veteran, seasoned detectives that are there to investigate these crimes. And as far as we know, there's no mentorship programs. So we're reaching the point within SAPS where there's going to be a skills deficit within detective services, because members coming out of college may be appointed into a detective role and may not necessarily have the experience of a detective. You must remember there's a huge difference between being paper qualified and being experienced. And being a detective takes a very special kind of person who learns the ropes as they go along, and normally learn it from their peers that have been in those positions for a number of years. And because our members are so inundated with dockets to investigate, there's no way that they are able to transfer these skills to the other members. They're just too busy trying to get their own dockets sorted out and liaising with the prosecutors and taking dockets to court. So that's my greatest concern. These wardens, they're not assisting in the reduction in crime. The only thing that's going to assist in the reduction in crime is successful prosecutions. And when you have a 10% conviction rate of murderers, that sends a clear message that there's a 90% chance you can get away with it. And it emboldens criminals even more.
No, I think I'm going to leave it there, Chad. We have run out of time, but thank you so much for painting that picture for us and making the residents of Gauteng understand just what kind of dangerous province that they are staying in. Thank you so much, and I hope to chat to you in the near future.
Thank you so much.
It's Chad Thomas there, painting a very, very, very bleak picture about how crime is persecuted and managed in the province. Just yesterday, I mean, imagine 1,787 people were murdered in Gauteng from October to December 2023. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
In series.